Well, in a surprise to basically nobody, it turns out that the LAPD has decided that the lunatic who wanted to run on stage at the Dave Chappelle show not only will be facing zero charges, I mean, zero federal charges, so nothing of real any substance, but also it's being reported today that, of course, now Dave is going to get sued for his security, quote unquote, going too far. Joe Rogan has some things to say about it, and I 100% support it. Look, it started a couple weeks ago with obviously Will. I mean, a crime was committed in a blatant fashion that was easy for all of us to see, and he was never prosecuted for it. I understand why Chris Rock didn't want to press charges, but I mean, does he really need to in that case? I mean, we saw it happen. Millions of people saw it happen. Maybe after Dave Chappelle loses this lawsuit, because of course he will. Of course he will. This guy will rename himself. He'll be looking for a new name after this. Maybe he'll be going by a lord or lady. Check this out. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. They allow people to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so they can call themselves a lord or a lady officially. In return, they commit to plant a tree with every order and protect the beautiful, pristine woodlands of Scotland. Established Titles makes an absolutely amazing gift, and a person could officially get their name changed on documents. Their title pack gives you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate and an official certificate with a crest. Established Titles is currently having a really big sale just for you, my subscribers. You can get an additional 10% off any purchase you make with the discount code TheQuartering. So click the link below, go to establishedtitles.com/TheQuartering and use promo code TheQuartering to save an extra 10% today. According to Joe, or a quote from Joe Rogan, it makes people lose faith in law enforcement. Rogan slams the LA district attorney for not filing any kind of federal charges against the suspect in the Dave Chappelle incident. Joe Rogan slammed the LA district attorney, George Gascon, who has refused to file any kind of felony charges against the man who went on stage and was a moron at the Dave Chappelle show at the Hollywood Bowl during a show. The podcast show shared the headline on Instagram Thursday with his millions of followers from the Hollywood Reporter that read, LA District Attorney declines felony charges for suspect. And Rogan said that when you see a person, that's weird. Obviously, when you see that a person, I think it's just a typo, obviously committed a clear crime and doesn't get charged, it's the kind of thing that makes people lose faith in law enforcement. And I mean, who could deny that? I mean, of course. When you see that person commits a clear crime and does it to one of the most loved performers alive and does it in a very high-profile public setting, it gets captured on video, and you don't charge that person for what they obviously did, it's kind of thing that makes people lose faith in law enforcement, the podcast host captioned his post. That's never good, he added. The screenshot he shared included a quote from the spokesperson with the district attorney's office that read, prosecutors determined that while criminal conduct did occur, the evidence as presented did not constitute a felony. Rogan's post also included a repost of a comment from Cigar and Jetty, the co-host of the Realignment podcast and Breaking Points with Crystal and Cigar, who asked, why does somebody need to actually get charged? What does somebody need to do to actually get charged with a crime in LA? The alleged person was identified as 23-year-old Isaiah Lee in LA, as previously reported by the Daily Wire. Look, I mean, I think I talked about this yesterday. I went on Brittany Venti's podcast. I mean, what he did, the fact that he was carrying something, a knife or whatever, I feel like is enough of an escalation. The only thing I could think is like he didn't have it out at the time, and that's why they didn't actually escalate the charge. I'm just trying to be as like good faith as possible, because the other like options are just too like brutal to consider. The fact that, like, he said, so this effing Dave Chappelle thing is crazy. Rogan told his guest, Tony Hinchcliffe, last night, I guess it was someone went after him at the Hollywood Bowl. He's fine. I checked with him today. He was laughing about it. He's in good spirits. Rogan and his guest then watched a video that surfaced on social media of the person appearing to run on stage. Clearly, there's something wrong with him. The podcast host shared, look at, he just runs away. My God, that guy's never tackled anyone in his life. Roasting his form, I suppose you could say. After the Chris Rock thing, that was one of the things I was worried about, the host explained. Are people thinking they're going to start smacking comedians now if they don't like what they're saying? And what I'm thinking and what I'm worried about is that people think it was justified. Well, ultimately, too, this dude, there were other people in the crowd that have now spoken out and have said that they told security about him and they were ignored. That, like, people pointed out that, hey, this guy's in the VIP area. He shouldn't be here. He looks like he's up to something. I continue to go back to the point that, are we going to wait till one of these dudes gets, ended live on camera? I don't understand. Like, I've said this before. It used to be a thing at shows. People would run on stage and would get wild and stuff like that. But this is not that. Now it says Dave Chappelle is facing a civil suit after being on the receiving end of bad behavior on stage. While the man accused of charging Dave Chappelle during the live performance Thursday night appears to have escaped felony charges, Chappelle may be facing civil liabilities over his injuries. Chappelle was finishing up his Netflix as a joke show at the Hollywood Bowl when the 23-year-old Isaiah Lee allegedly ran on stage and went after the comedian. And this is why you charge him, like, to the fullest extent of the law. You make it serious. Chappelle's security team apparently tackled the attacker, who was later taken away from the venue on a stretcher with an arm injury. Believe it or not, Dave Chappelle and his team may face civil liabilities when all of the dust settles. Legal analyst Allison Trissel told KTLA. Oh, of course he's going to get sued. I remember, so my parents used to have these, like, when they were young, they thought they were going to get into the rental property game. And they had, I think, 4 or 5 rental properties. They lost money horribly on all of them. It was not in the best part of town when there was an incident where 2 people who don't live at my parents' rental properties were in some sort of fight. Someone pulled a weapon. The other person ran up onto my parents, trespassed on my parents' property, ran up onto their porch, fell through a railing on a porch where, again, they were trespassing. They didn't live. They had no reason to be there. And then sued my parents and won for, like, some sort of safety thing the insurance company settled. So am I surprised by this? No, not at all. If the issue was over and he was no longer a danger and had been restrained, they cannot take revenge on him. TMZ has released a video where Chappelle can be heard talking about the injuries and appears happy about the outcome. It felt good. My friends broke his arm, Chappelle said in the video. Those words could cost Chappelle in a civil suit. It's very possible that Dave Chappelle's own words, where he says that he roughed the guy up, can be used against him in a potential civil manner down the line, which is only going to incentivize more people to do this, isn't it? It's just going to incentivize more people because, oh, I can rush the stage, take a beating, and just get paid. It seems like a pretty good gig. I mean, that guy's medical bills will be paid for by the state, and then he'll sue Chappelle and get, $2 million, and then he can, take off his Spotify career. Maybe that's what he was planning on doing the entire time. It's difficult to know. Despite confiscating patrons' cell phones ahead of the show, the security team somehow missed a replica that, of course, had the pokey thing in it. Now, of course, the Hollywood Bowl could face suit as well. New details provided amongst, he had all sorts. He just went up to work the next day. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to sue him and win. Kevin Hart says the beatdown of Chappelle attacker needed to happen. Of course, his brother says suspect struggles with mental illness. Well, yeah, I would imagine he does have some sort of mental illness, and maybe that's why he avoided federal charges. But at like what point are you supposed to like are you supposed to do here? Like what are you supposed to do? Okay, so you can't charge people for crimes if they suffer with mental illness. So they can just do whatever they want. We're supposed to just let them, wave their blades around and go on stage and do all this kind of stuff. Howie Mandel says he's now afraid after the Chappelle because it wasn't even like a reaction to something that Dave Chappelle said. It was like this dude just ran on stage looking for clout. Now, why did he have something on him to hurt somebody? I don't know that answer, but certainly you could argue that maybe he did have something else planned, and I don't really know how you differentiate the two. And the fact that the DA is just going to say, "Meh, he's cool, he's cool. We're not too worried about it." It's the same reaction that everyone had after the Oscars event. Essentially, no big deal. Just go ahead and do what you want. Lawlessness needs to stop in this country, and certain states and certain governors and DAs and stuff, they need to go. They need to be voted out. This whole like catch and release stuff so that they can go back out on the street and commit another crime the same day has to stop. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.